I spoke in a previous video titled When the Source of Supply Runs Cold, and I did mention in the comments that I wouldn't let myself off the hook. And what I meant by that was that when we actually start to heal our own stuff, when we start to address our own stuff, even when we inwardly reflect upon past situations, we can start to gain an awareness, we can start to heal, and we can start to learn new ways of being, new patterns of behavior, how to unlearn those unhealthy coping mechanisms that led us into something. Because without awareness, how can we actually change? So sometimes it is looking at those uncomfortable parts of ourselves and going, this is why I was in this relational dynamic, or this is why I was doing the things that I was doing. And the why can serve to a what of how I can change. What can I do to change? What healing modalities can I do to unlearn some of these unhealthy coping mechanisms that I've developed? And being in a relational dynamic where you're that emotional regulatory person for someone else is an unhealthy dynamic to be in. To serve the needs of others, to be of duty to others, is kind of what it feels like to be in this relational dynamic. And it's kind of like getting the reward of love, or the reward of praise, or the reward of attention after having to really defuse a bomb whilst getting attacked at the same time. And that's kind of what it feels like to bring someone's emotions back into regulations, that you have to go through that wall, that minefield to do that. The example that I was using in that video was clearly the example that I've mentioned in other videos, where I would tense up waiting for my ex-wife to come home, sort of thing. It's like, because I'd be knowing that I'd be having to be that diffuser of the day. And the example I was giving about feeling guilty about someone else's blame, what that actually looks like is that in the past I had tried to put in the boundary of like, hey, I can't be here for you for your day, sort of thing. It's like, if it's from the time that she got home to sleep time, basically lying in bed still hearing about so and so and how they're such a bad person, that becomes like toxicity in your ear that you're having to listen to and trying to navigate, and trying to bring also awareness that, hey, it's like, well, if we do say this to this person, they might have a negative reaction, so maybe don't say that to that person. And because you're not on their side, because you're not there for them, because you're not joining in on how bad this person is, because you can sort of see, if people are putting on lunches for you, it's like because they see you as a good person or want to do good things, and that's not necessarily a slight against your character, that it wears you out and you get emotionally fatigued, and you might just have probably a snippet of like, well, how was your day? And but by then you're like worn out, or you can come up with, yeah, it was good, and that's it. So it becomes an unbalanced dynamic. It becomes a very one-sided dynamic. And if you put in a boundary of like, hey, can you not? Can we not have to do this every day, sort of thing? Can you as a person that helps people, can you actually help yourself by not dumping on myself the whole day, and me having to work that out to be that therapist? And this was normally met by, I didn't care, or it was seen as like an affront to their character, that I wasn't there for them and I wasn't listening for them, and therefore I'm all these bad things for actually doing that. And of course, me being a caring somewhat person, I would feel bad about that. It's like, oh, okay, it's like, yeah, it's like, I am those things that I was told. I am the bad person. I wasn't there for them. It's like I wasn't taking care of them, sort of thing. But therefore that starts to play on your mind. You give in and you start to, once again, partake in that poison. You start to have to detoxify that. Or it gets to the point where you hold your ground, your boundaries are stronger, a little bit stronger, as you're learning to develop these boundaries. And then that's where the clash is against that, sort of thing. It's like, give me my source of supply. In that case, it's like you can hold firm, you can do that, but it's a wearing away at your sense of character, your sense of being, to the point where it's like there is that withdrawal. And because it's so tense in the house, you kind of want equilibrium again. You kind of want a balance. You kind of want to just live your life a bit. So you start to re-engage again. And the use of the word cathartic wasn't my word. It was after an argument, after all the tears, after all the harsh words and all that, after the initial problem of the day was solved, it was said to me that, this is it's a cathartic thing to have an argument. For me, it felt like a shell shock experience. Like I had to go through hell to actually help this person that just couldn't help themselves. Now, what do I get from that? It doesn't seem logical to actually engage with a person like this. It's like, what benefit do I get out of it? But you also got to look at my background of my family upbringings. Having to be that counselor once again in that situation where tending to grown adults' needs and that as a child, and the guilt, the shame that would be given to you, those silent treatments of like, well, you weren't there for me, so I'm going to make you feel guilty about that sort of thing because you're a bad person for not helping me. That was my basically MO growing up sort of thing. It's like, that's how I would operate. I remember saying that to my mother after a big argument, and she would say, it's like, I don't want to make you feel guilty or anything like that. That's how I was brought up, and that it's like, I don't want to do that. Probably about 2 weeks later, we're back in the same situation. It's that pattern of behavior. It just doesn't change because there's no awareness, because someone else has to do the work rather than them do the work. So what do I get out of it? It's how you're conditioned to actually understand how to receive love or receive kindness or receive attention that you perceive in an environment is healthy, or similar to how some kids can grow up in quite an abusive household and then go to a friend's house and then understand that, love and affection, it's unconditional. There's no conditions upon how to receive this love. And then they start to realize, there's a different world out there, sort of thing, a different understanding of things. And that's how it was for me, because it's like, for me, it was normal in a way to almost have that praise of love and attention by doing the duty, the service of going through hell and back to receive that love and attention, to defuse someone else, for them to then see you as value of receiving love, of being that sense of warmth, of being that sense of catharsis for someone else. It shows up in day-to-day life of just constantly checking in with the other person. It's like, are you okay? You seem upset. Are you okay? You seem upset. These sorts of statements. And it's kind of like how they check with the seismograph of a volcano to see if there's going to be another explosion. They're trying to predict it, sort of thing. It's a, are you okay, so I can stay safe? It's sort of a statement, rather than actually, are you generally okay? And if you're having to constantly check in on this, it kind of doesn't feel like a safe environment to be in. Once again, that conditional love, where it's like there's conditions around how you receive this love. It's like, you're of value, you're a thing, you're kind of like, once again, a drink to self-soothe someone else's needs, which isn't a healthy dynamic. There's where you don't have, once again, time for yourself, time for your own needs, because you're servicing the needs of others. If you're working in a role as a therapist, you do need time for yourself. You do need that time to recharge. And if you're lucky, you're able to do that. You're able to clock off at the end of the day. But if you're clocked off at the end of the day, in my case, like doing support work and now EFT tapping, if I was doing that all day, clocking off and then having to do that for someone else, then you have no your time, or you have no time for your own sense of self, your own identity, because your identity is in service of someone else. So you become that sense of like, kind of like part of the furniture there to be used. Definitely in those situations where you hold to your boundaries, where some things are being said that aren't nice, and that there is that tension in the house where you do feel like you're walking on eggshells, where you do feel like you're to blame for something that you didn't cause, and the only thing that you're to blame for was to say, hey, I have my own needs and I need to attend to them. Can you attend to your own? And I laugh because it just seems so logical, but it's just it does bereft you of your senses. And I think in this sort of a dynamic, what you're getting out of it is not healthy. In a relationship, there's an interdependency where you're both relying on each other, but there's normally a balance. Hey, how you going? Wow! Hello! 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 Yeah. Beautiful! Hello! 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 Yeah. Beautiful. Is it poodles or?
He's a miniature and the other one's standard.
Hello!
He's only 4 months, he's only 5 months old.
Beautiful. Oh wow.
This is social.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go.
Hello.
Let's go.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You're beautiful too. No, it's all good. It's all good. See ya. Have a good day. Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah, that sense of interdependency where you're there for that person's needs and they're there for yours, rather than that one side, that unbalanced nature of a relationship. There's probably examples where people have been able to heal in these relationships in the form of the ex-marriage. Like I tried to get counseling to heal, to bring everything back, but that tension once again was that silence, that silent treatment was even in the therapy thing. So therapy sessions were done by Zoom, and before Zoom sessions would start, I'd be told what I could and could not speak about in actual therapy, what we were there to actually heal from. There was conditions around what we were allowed to touch and what we are not allowed to touch. I, of course, being me, wanted to touch upon these emotions to actually heal and grow. And you could cut the tension with a knife at the end of it, and then that silence throughout the house, because I went against what we were there for, to heal. And then, of course, you would feel guilty about that and sort of try to present your side of it, arguments, feeling guilty, and then back into the next therapy session. So I wouldn't rule anything's a possibility. The probability of it is going to be dependent on the person's willingness to actually heal. As I was told many a time that, you can't try and change someone, Dion, sort of thing, in arguments. And when we do look at that statement is, hey, you can't change someone, Dion, stop trying to change someone. And it's like, sometimes that's more a declaration of I don't want to change, or there's many scary things within myself that I don't want to address. And it's easier for you to carry that load for me. It's easier for you to carry those titles, the diagnoses, all these sorts of things, to shift that away. It just didn't work out. So, and sometimes it is a case of knowing that it is not going to work out. And for your own well-being, for your own sense of self, to build that sense of self, to build your sense of character, to build your sense of worth, to rebuild your confidence, all these sorts of things that are being torn down that you weren't allowed to have. Even things like anger sort of thing, which can be seen as a shameful thing. It's like, I've done you wrong, and it's wrong for you to be angry about what I've done to you. I'm not going to make you feel bad about having anger. Sometimes it's being able to process these emotions and to have your range of self, so that when you are in a healthy relationship where that person's there for you and you're there for them, and not everything's going to be perfectly balanced all the time, but you're not there as that source of supply, and you're not being told these names of yourself that aren't part of who you are as a person. And I think you'll try, even for myself, when I was out with friends or just out in general public, that your relationship with people seems to be different to the relationship that you have within your own intimate relationship or family dynamic, where people see you as something different to what you're being told, similar to how a child goes into a different household and learns that, love and affection is not, a conditional thing. You start to learn, it's like, I kind of feel a bit lighter when I'm out of this environment. I don't feel like I'm weighed down. I don't feel like I'm entering into a cage fight every time I'm trying to receive love. The external environment of what you're interacting with is a good source of like, oh, well, maybe I'm not a piece of crap. Maybe I'm not these things that I'm being told, sort of thing. So it's a good way of checking in on yourself to actually know who you are. Knowing with codependency and to learn about that, knowing that you are a value, you have your own value, and you're allowed to share of that value, but people aren't allowed to take of that and have the entitlement to actually take from you. And knowing when you have the actual right to say, no, I'm putting up my boundary, I'm here for my own needs so I can take care of myself. Because if we don't take time for our wellness, we're certainly going to have to take time for our illness. And we don't want our illness to be a result of having our energy sapped dry by someone else who should have been able to attend to their own needs. So I'm Dion from Evolution Support Services. I'll catch you next one. Bye for now.